Right now, the world is watching a situation that could change global politics and economies. A growing conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran is creating tension not just in the Middle East, but across the entire world. Missiles are being launched, oil prices are rising, and markets are becoming unstable. But how did this start? What is happening right now, and why should you care? Let's understand this step by step in simple terms. To understand today's situation, we need to go back in time. The tension between the United States and Iran started in 1979, after a major political change in Iran, known as the Iranian Revolution. Before that, Iran and the United States had a friendly relationship, but after the revolution, a new government came into power in Iran that strongly opposed the United States. Since then, both countries have seen each other as rivals. At the same time, Israel also became concerned about Iran. The biggest reason behind this is Iran's nuclear program. The United States and Israel believe that Iran could develop nuclear weapons, which could pose a serious threat to the region. Iran, however, says that its nuclear program is only for peaceful purposes like energy production. In 2015, an important agreement was made between Iran and several global powers. This deal was designed to limit Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. For some time, this helped reduce tensions. But later, the agreement collapsed, and trust between the countries broke down again. This increased suspicion and made the situation more unstable. Over the years, the conflict continued indirectly. Iran supported different groups in the Middle East, while the United States and Israel tried to reduce Iran's influence in the region. These actions created a series of small conflicts, but they did not turn into a full-scale war. However, each event added more tension. By 2025, the situation had become very sensitive. Iran was facing internal economic challenges, and at the same time, external pressure from sanctions and political isolation was increasing. On the other side, the United States and Israel were becoming more concerned about Iran's growing capabilities. All these factors slowly pushed the situation closer to a breaking point. Then, in early 2026, things changed quickly. Large-scale airstrikes were launched targeting Iranian military bases and nuclear-related sites. This was a major turning point because it marked the beginning of direct conflict. Iran responded strongly by launching missiles and drones towards Israel and U.S. positions in the region. What started as targeted attacks soon became a wider and more dangerous conflict. Right now, the situation remains extremely tense. Both sides continue to exchange attacks, and there is always a risk that the conflict could grow even larger. One of the most important areas in this situation is the Strait of Hormuz. This is a narrow sea route through which a large portion of the world's oil supply passes. If this route is blocked or disrupted, it can affect the global oil supply almost immediately. This is why the whole world is paying attention. When oil supply is affected, oil prices rise. And when oil prices rise, it impacts everything. Transportation becomes more expensive, businesses face higher costs, and everyday products become more costly. In simple terms, when oil prices increase, your daily expenses also increase. We are already seeing economic effects. Stock markets have become unstable because investors are uncertain about the future. During conflicts, investors usually become cautious, which leads to market fluctuations. Inflation is also likely to increase because higher fuel costs affect almost every industry. Global trade may slow down, especially if shipping routes are disrupted. Countries that depend heavily on oil imports, like India, are more vulnerable in such situations. Higher oil prices can increase fuel costs, transportation expenses, and overall inflation. This can directly affect household budgets and economic growth. Another important point is global security. If more countries get involved in this conflict, it could turn into a much larger regional or even global crisis. This is why many countries are closely monitoring the situation and trying to prevent further escalation. Looking ahead, there are a few possible outcomes. One possibility is escalation, where the conflict becomes bigger and more countries join in. This would increase risks for global stability. Another possibility is negotiation. If both sides agree to talks, a ceasefire could reduce tensions and bring stability. The third possibility is a prolonged conflict, where the situation continues for a long time without a clear resolution. This would keep markets unstable and create long-term uncertainty. No matter what happens next, one thing is clear. This conflict is not limited to one region. Its impact is global, from fuel prices to food costs, from stock markets to job stability. People around the world will feel its effects. This is why understanding this situation is important. Because global events like this are not just headlines. They directly influence our daily lives. In the end, this conflict is not just about three countries. It is about power, security, economy, and global stability. And as the situation continues to develop, the world will be watching closely, waiting to see what happens next.